All right, boys. Sorry about the rant style that this video is going to be in, but you know me. If Brian Rose is involved, we got to talk about it. And he recently published Plandemic II. Now, if you guys remember Plandemic I, it's a viral little documentary. I say that very generously. I mean, it's just like a one-sided piece. In Plandemic II, they basically say the same stuff. And I want to talk about 3 things in it. And because I'm not trying to convince anybody, I've given up on trying to do that. So instead, I just want to offer some things to think about while you mull over this Plandemic II, if you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, it's on the Digital Freedom platform. Although I don't recommend you go there because you're going to have to put in your email address for Brian Rose to collect, and then it'll advertise scams to you forever. But so don't do that. You know, there are other sites you can probably watch it on. But let me just say a few things about it, okay, to start off. And the director, Mickey Willis. So first of all, it's well edited. Look, nobody's going to accuse this guy, Mickey Willis, of not being a good editor and clipping things together. I mean, he talks a lot about how powerful narrative is, and I actually totally agree with him.
Our lives are shaped and guided by stories. The stories we're told become the stories we tell. The more we hear them, the more we believe them.
You can make things look a certain way if you just present the evidence in a certain light. And I'm going to agree with them on one thing. Look, Big Pharma does suck. Everybody's going to tell you that. Doctors will tell you that. Big Pharma will probably tell you that. And I'll definitely tell you that. Big Pharma has huge problems, corruption, greed, conflicts of interest. 100%. Anyone who tells you otherwise is lying. That being said, the movie doesn't answer what I think is the most important question, which is, okay, so now what? Like, all right, Mickey Willis, we hear we hear your point. Like, you don't like Big Pharma. So now what? What are you gonna go back to chewing like leaves? I mean, medicine is overall a good thing. Most people think that. Like, when you see longevity over time, we're just getting older and older because the medicine works better and better. It's like the general curve of humanity. And it's sort of like, you know, the people who are upset at the cops right now. Because, yeah, you can point to how corrupt cops are. And everyone who's sane would agree with you. You can point to bad cops 100%. You can even say that even the system of training cops and all these things is inherently flawed. Just like you could argue that Big Pharma is inherently flawed. Agreed. But then the question eventually becomes, all right, you criticize, but then now what? Are you calling to defund the police? Are you calling to defund Big Pharma? So what are you going to use? I mean, right? When you're in trouble, who you going to call? And this is the part where Plandemic completely falls flat on its face, okay? Besides all the conspiracy mongering. Because they point out Big Pharma's corrupt, which like I'm with them there. And then they're like, yeah, and it's all this big plot. Okay, you lose me there. But anyways, what's your big plan, Mickey Willis? Like, he offers this trite thing about we've replaced medicines that help with drugs that harm. He literally says that in the documentary with no irony.
We trade medicines that heal for drugs that harm.
Dude, what do you want us to go back to chewing oregano? You want us to go back to dosing with rosemary? It's like, what do you want us to do, my man? Look, there's a reason we don't all chew mushrooms from the wilderness anymore. It's because we had a better idea.
Medicines used for thousands of years were suddenly classified as alternative.
We've replaced these old drugs and called them alternative medicine because we now have better drugs that work better. Are there problems? Sure. But you just have to take one look at human lifespan and you'll realize that medicine has been on the balance a very, very good thing. So that really pisses me off because it just seems like he's complaining a bunch. He's railing against the system, which, like, yeah, I get it. I'm with him up to a certain point about like Big Pharma having problems, and then he just gets to like the defund the pharma kind of thing, and that's where he loses me. Like, let's all go back to nature. Nah, bro. Sure, there's problems with opiates, but I don't want to go back to the day that when there weren't painkillers. There are problems with all sorts of things, but that you would not replace that problem with like the old problem. The new problem's better than the old problem is the point that I'm getting at. So anyway, that's to address the first thing. The second thing is I want to talk about good old Bri. I've already touched on this in a second, but look, dude, this guy is not out to get the truth out, right? He's an opportunist, and it's time you guys wake up to this. London Real, in order to access this so-called pandemic, first of all, they could have used BitChute all along as the digital freedom platform. I don't want to belabor this because I've made a whole series of videos on it. It's one of these, I'll post it. But the point is, he could have used a free platform. Instead, he took millions of dollars of his subscribers' money and then made his own digital freedom platform, where the big catch is you have to put in your email address before you can watch anything on his website, which means he's collected literally millions of email addresses, which now he sends his little newsletter to, and he sells out his little email list to people who are selling scams, right? We've already talked about this with the crypto guy, Tika Tiwari, which London Real was advertising. But the other thing is, look, it's not just me who thinks he's a scammer or an opportunist. People from London Real have reached out to me to tell me what kind of guy this is. But even people who haven't reached out, like London Real's business partner, Nick. I don't know if you guys know this, but London Real wasn't started as a sole proprietorship. It was started as a duo. What happened to Nick? Where's Nick, Brian? He's nowhere to be seen. Or just take a look at Peter Sage, you know? Brian Rose is happy to have him on when Peter Sage was bringing in the traffic, right? But then Peter Sage goes to jail. He had this whole scandal. And when Peter Sage becomes a hot potato, what does Brian do? Does he stick his neck out for the guy? Does he say, hey, I might disagree with you, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it? No, he drops him like a hot potato and removes him from his platform and pretends like he doesn't know him. People have literally been calling this guy out for over 6 years. This is an interview. What you're about to see is an interview from 6 years ago where Joey Diaz, I don't know if you guys know who that is. He's from like the Joe Rogan universe of characters. He calls this guy out from all the way back then. This is when Brian Rose was doing some shady marketing, and then he got called out on it, and he blamed it on his interns. That's the background.
That's what I got pissed off about, because claim responsibility. Even till today, he put up a YouTube video on Monday saying that it was his fucking interns. That guy, you never want to do business with a guy like that cannot claim responsibility. That is a pussy. That's the type of guy that'll leave you in a fucking lurch.
I've been saying this for a long time, but apparently Joey Diaz has been saying it for much longer. This guy has shown his true colors time and time again. So, okay, we've talked about the director of the film, his whole thing of like, yeah, let's all go back to plants, which I think is stupid. We've talked about the guy promoting the film, Brian Rose, and his very sketchy history, shall we say. But now I want to just tell you my general beef with alternative medicine, because look, once again, I have no problems copping to the fact that Big Pharma sucks, that it needs reform, it needs to be changed. But what I hate is these alternative medicine people pretending to be the good guys, and all they want to do is sell you something. They just want a piece of the pie, and so they're calling out Big Pharma, but ultimately, guess what? Hey, they want a slice. And they want to play like they're some tiny guy, right? They want to play like, hey, we're David fighting against Goliath. But dude, look at the truth, man. The global complementary and alternative medicine market size was projected at $69.2 billion, okay? This is not some tiny industry fighting for survival. It's a billion-dollar industry. They won't tell you that, of course, because, you know, you're not going to feel bad for $1 billion industry versus $1 billion industry. But that's actually what's going on. It's big pharma versus big natural or big alternative or something like that. And these people have the same narrative every time. It's predictable. Look, think about what you saw in Plandemic, okay? What did you see? You saw somebody saying there's a giant conspiracy to hide the true cures. And, but don't blame your doctor because they're just indoctrinated, right?
This is not an indictment against doctors. More than anyone, they are under the stranglehold of the single largest lobbying power in Washington.
Now, let's go over to my long list of health scams that I've accumulated over the years, which I keep in a little file on the Google Drive. So this is American Health Underground. Whistleblower reveals 7 deadly drugs the government wants you to swallow. Now, you could basically put this in the Plandemic film and no one would be shocked at all. No one would be surprised. Okay, let's see what we're reading here. Dear reader, what you're about to read will likely make you mad, but it also could save your life. Okay, so let's get back down to the part where they start blaming Big Pharma. Oh, okay, here it is. Here's the worst part. While the FDA pushes Big Pharma's poison profit pills, a shroud of secrecy is thrown over powerful natural cures. Remind you of anyone?
We trade medicines that heal for drugs that harm.
But now let's hear about your doctor, right? Because it's not your doctor's fault, is it? No, of course not. Of course not. Make no mistake, your doctor probably can't tell you about any of the secrets you'll find in this book. It's not his fault. I'll explain in a moment. Now, I want to pause here and explain what the strategy is here. So these people know persuasion inside out. So what do they know? Well, they know that, number one, you're very likely to believe the idea that Big Pharma is corrupt and they're hiding something because you already know that Big Pharma is corrupt. So the only logical leap they have to make you believe is they're hiding something, right? But what you won't believe is that your doctor's corrupt, guys, because you know your doctor, and you're much more likely to believe that a shadowy cabal is corrupt than this guy that you know, and you know that your doctor's a well-intentioned guy, so they know you will believe him. And so what can they do? They can't convince you that your doctor's corrupt because you know that's not true. So what do they have to tell you, you know? They have to tell you that it's not your doctor's fault. Your doctor's just a well-meaning idiot. You know, it's not like he went to years and years of schooling and can think for himself. No, he's a brain-dead idiot who's been brainwashed by Big Pharma. So they tell you, your family doctor's probably a good guy, but he's just too stupid to understand the truth. All right, so after we get done with that, what's the actual point here? What's the actual point? Well, is it just to get the word out? No, it's to sell you something. Look, Dr. King's Natural Medicine Sciatic Nerve Formula, $19.99. Ooh, baby, got some pills. $34.99. This is at the bottom of this thing telling you all these secrets have been hidden from you. $49.95. So let me recap. They tell you Big Pharma's out to get you. They're greedy. Your doctor doesn't know about it because he's stupid. Now pay us $49.95 for the trouble and we'll solve all your problems. And this is what alternative health does. Now, do they have any studies to back up the fact that they're claiming to cure cancer, Alzheimer's, heart disease? No, they don't need to because they're alternative medicine. But you're probably saying to yourself, Steven, that's just one example, right? That's just one example. So what? These things have this in common. That doesn't show a pattern. Okay, well, let's check out another one. Here's the blacklist. True cures for the 12 deadliest diseases known to mankind. Okay, here we go. So, okay, we get into it. Let's see. They won't let us have the cures. So when do they blame Big Pharma? Oh, okay, it's in the introduction. Our medical establishment does everything in its power to keep them away from you. What are they keeping away? Cures for cancer, heart disease, diabetes, asthma, allergies, pain, cataracts, osteoporosis, arthritis, fatigue, Alzheimer's, and more. Oh, because they do exist. They're just being hidden from you. But, you know, by the cabal. But don't blame your family doctor. Look, watch this. I'll show you. It's not your doctor's fault. Oh, look at this. Don't blame your doctor. It's in the same paragraph. I missed it. You see, this powerful multi-billion-dollar industry controls all medical information. They effectively shut down all dissent. So once again, Big Pharma controls all medical information, but don't blame your doctor because Big Pharma is evil, but your doctor's not evil. He's just stupid. He just doesn't understand. And, you know, this person, this rogue doctor, you know, remind you of anybody? This whistleblower. Ooh, wow, whistleblower. Ooh, interesting. Okay, so this whistleblower's talking to us. Sounds familiar. Sounds like Judy Mikovits. Okay, now let's say we want the uncensored truth about natural cures. Are they going to give it to us for free? Are they? Are they? Are they doing it because they love us? Oops. Nope. You got to buy something. Oh, yeah. Doesn't that always hit you in the gut when it comes at the end there? Oh, but wait, there's more. Here's another one. The story we're about to hear was denied by our own United States government. Dr. Gerhauser saying he's going to cure cancer, the true cure for cancer. Okay. Well, why haven't you heard of it before? The answer you've heard of before. It's because the trillion-dollar Big Pharma industry is a very willing partner in crime with our own United States government. The Big Pharma owns the FDA. But don't worry, it's not your doctor's fault. Haha, look at it. He means well, no question about it. But he's simply not taught about it because that's not the way our medical system works. He doesn't know about the Warburg method. You don't know about the Warburg method, dude? It's the way you truly cure cancer. I mean, it's just the way it is. Now, why do I show you guys all this? It's because I want to show you that this argument that is being made in Plandemic ad nauseum, that Big Pharma is bad, oregano cures are good. It's as old as time.
This is not an indictment against doctors. More than anyone, they are under the stranglehold of the single largest lobbying power in Washington.
And what you find at the end of the day is that these people who are promoting these things are never themselves without interest. So while you may not leave this video thinking that Big Pharma is great, that's fine. I don't expect to convince a lot of you. And honestly, Big Pharma has a lot of problems. What I want you to leave this also knowing is that, hey, These people making the Plandemic II, these people making these alternative medicine things like, oh, come join my alternative medicine thing. I'm the true guy with pure interests. No, they don't. And actually, the difference between a doctor and alternative medicine is your doctor can't just claim to cure cancer when he can't cure your cancer. Whereas alternative medicine, they can. And now what I want to show you is something you'll never see anywhere else. And the only reason I have it is because I know a bunch of copywriters. I know people who write this alternative stuff, and they've let me in behind the scenes of their industry, the people who are sick of this stuff, and they've let me access to not only the sales letters that you're reading, but actually their notation on the sales letters so you can get an inside look into what the mind of these people are. So let me show you something that will blow your mind because, I know you think all these guys are well-meaning. They're the good guys and Big Pharma's the bad guys. I want to show you something that will literally knock you off your socks, I think. This is something called, did our creator encode a cancer cure in the 859th page on the ancient Bible? Okay. Spoiler alert. No, he didn't. Okay. And this makes me mad because they're preying on people of faith because they know they're more likely to be open-minded to these alternative therapies. And they prey on it by basically going, hey, I'm a Christian guy too. They load it up with Christian language to try to get them to buy. Because that's ultimately what it's about. It's about money. Don't you get it? It's about getting the money. If they can't get your money, they don't care, right? They care if they can take your money. So, okay, let's hear about it. Could the Holy Bible contain the secret to eliminating the worst disease facing mankind? Oh, yeah, it's called the Matthew 4 Cancer Protocol. Okay. The well-worn pages of your family Bible have held the secrets to these miracles all along. Now, I'm going to spoil the ending for you. Look at that. Payment options is at the bottom of the page. After you read what is essentially, like 30 pages, this is where you get to payment, because you got to pay us, right? Pay your fellow Christian. But look, with that, setting that aside, let's dissect what this is doing, okay? These people, like I said, they know what they're doing. They're playing to your biases. So look at this. Right here. Did our creator encode cancer cure in the Bible? And this is someone's notes as a copywriter. So here's a note. Identify with Christians, God-fearing, patriotic Americans. And what they're talking about right here is the headline. Did our creator encode a cancer cure on the 859th page of the ancient Bible? So they know what is our target for selling our whatever our shill thing is today. But check it out. Let's read on. Okay, so they call it a healing code, and it's hidden on the 859th page of the King James Bible. So they're trying to get authority with you. So they're saying that. Okay, so then they get into the nightmare stories. With absolutely nothing to lose, he was given the Matthew 4 protocol to try, and he doesn't have any supplements. He was able to do it safely on his own. And they put a note, no drugs, because people don't like taking drugs, and they know that. So they know, okay, we're convincing them. We're convincing them. But this is the stuff that pisses me off. They purposely put in little tags to make you identify and more likely to buy. But do you think these people actually believe this stuff? Like, I don't actually think, maybe they're Christian, but are they though? I would not be surprised if they're not. But check this out. Okay, they put in this guy, Mark Stingler, or his appearances on the 700 Club, and then below it goes Christian. Mark Stingler has become one of the most trusted evangelists, authority. He's also a devout Christian and has studied the Bible in great depth, religion. So these people in the alternative health movement, they're not your heroes. They're people preying on you even worse than Big Pharma. They're not only preying on you for money because you're desperate. At least in the case of Big Pharma, they're using drugs that have been proven to work. In the case of these guys, they're selling you snake oil, and they're selling it to you using your biases and what you know. So if you're a Christian, they want to appeal to you. Actually, if you're a Muslim, they probably want to appeal to you too. They'll write you a whole thing about how Muhammad found the cure for cancer. If you're an atheist, they'll tell you how the skeptics found a cure for cancer. In other words, they'll tell you anything you want to know, and then they'll tell you it's all Big Pharma's fault, you haven't been cured, but it's not your doctor's fault because it's not their fault. They're just stupid. But if you'll just pay us, don't you get it? It's all about paying them. And look, with all of that said, how it's all about ending up selling you something, let's skip forward to the end of Plandemic II. What's at the end of Plandemic II?
And look, finally, we have the London Real Academy. So if we can help with anything that you need, whether that means starting a business or starting a podcast or anything, that's what we do. We're specialists at that. And I would really love to help you all out. So
He'd love to help you. Just fork over that credit card for the cool price of thousands of dollars for his coaching, right? Because you can trust Brian Rose. He's a man of character. He's the one who revealed to you the truth. So open up your wallet. Fork over some cash.
And don't forget to smash like and subscribe. Thank you.